Hello and welcome to the Veterans Radio Show, hosted and sponsored by the National Veterans Chamber of Commerce. I'm your guest host today, Tammy. I'm the liaison for faith-based initiatives, and I'm super excited to be here today to introduce to you an amazing person, a gentleman by the name of Jose Lopez. He is a reservist and an engineer full-time and an entrepreneur. And I'm just really excited to hear he's got a very interesting transition story. You know, we love those transition stories. So he's got a very interesting path that he's been on, and I'm excited to hear from him. So welcome, Jose.
Hello, Tammy. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here with us. I was telling kind of the audience about your interesting history, and so I, saw that you originally enlisted in the U.S. Army, and so tell us a little bit about how kind of like what moved you in that direction.
So I think life, like many of us, doesn't go as planned, and it brings up different experiences. So at the time, it was back in 2012 when I enlisted in November, and I had just graduated from a four-year university, Cal State San Bernardino, with my bachelor's in mathematics, and I was trying to become a high school math teacher. That didn't exactly go to plan. My family was in need of both financial and medical benefits, and the Army was like a blessing in that manner, that it was able to provide both of those things that my family needed at that time when I needed them.
That's so great. And that's wise. It's wise. A lot of people don't realize the benefits that they receive. You know, they think of what they're giving, and we appreciate everything that's given. But it's really wonderful to hear somebody see that they're actually benefited by their service as well, and their families benefited. And so thank you so much for that. So then, if I'm understanding correctly, you were in for 8 years. Is that correct? And so at some point you went to ROTC. So were you an enlisted person and then also an officer?
Yes. So I did 8 years enlisted, and I was in the Medical Service Corps. I fixed medical devices for the Army for 8 years. I was in Germany at the time when my contract was about to end, and I needed to extend and PCS to a new station. But at that same time, I found out about another job title in the Army as an officer. So I started the process of joining and seeing how I could commission in the U.S. Army to become a nuclear medical science officer. At the time was the plan. And ROTC was actually an avenue that I could take to make that happen, that they would take over the contract that I was still in for a year or so, and I would stop being active duty, go into the reserve officer training corps, and go to school, get my master's for those 2 years. And then once I graduate, I would commission as a United States Army officer.
Wow. So that's a very different kind of experience. Those two experiences in your life, that's pretty intense. So how did you find that transition from one aspect of the service to being an officer?
I think a lot of it was research, a lot of time after work that I had to dedicate to figuring out, like, what were the requirements for me to get out of my contract? What was needed for me to transition? How was I going to be able to get out of the military? And then, getting my chain of command involved in that aspect because of certain personnel actions that are required. And I got discharged back in 2020, July of 2020, and I joined the ROTC program at Georgetown University, where I would be there for 2 years while I got my master's. and then commissioned as a U.S. Army officer.
Wow, that's so amazing. And so now you serve as a reserve army officer. So what is that like? I mean, are you just continuing? Is that something that you're in it long term? Is it just, how does that work for you?
I got to say that I think I'm in it for the long term. I'm at 11 years of service, 8 years active, and 3 years in the reserves. And it's a bit of a challenge in regards of my mentality uh, for my normal day to day life, and then becoming 1 week in the month, 2 weeks out of the year, this person where soldiers look up to, are expected to make decisions, make plans, and give them direction on motivation in regards to whatever mission we get from our higher headquarters. I found that that's a little bit of a struggle that I've had, and on top of everything else in my life that's going on, it's a bit of a juggling act that getting the hang of it, but not fully at the moment.
Well, and it's so interesting because we're very interested in transition stories. The transitioning from the military, and what I love is that your transition story includes still being in the military, but only once a month. I mean, because so many people, by the time they're really ready to share their transition story, they're out of the reserves. And so and their story doesn't involve that, and then your story actually involves still one time a month being that person, but then the rest of the month needing to be somebody else.
Yeah, yes, and it's like I said, it's very interesting. The transition, like I mentioned, it's a bit. It was a lot at first, going 8 years active duty because it's army all the time, 24/7, and then you come to the reserves, and you have your family life, you have your normal life on the weekends when you're not drilling, but then you're asked to serve our country, or go to training and lead troops. Yes.
Yeah. So now I'm also understanding that you actually have a full-time job as an engineer. And so how do you balance that? I mean, it sounds, and tell us a little bit about that, because I'm making it sound very simplistic, and it sounded extremely complicated and amazing. So um,
Okay, so I guess there would be two full-time jobs and then the reserves. So I work for Varian Medical Systems, who I'm one of their site engineers who monitors and maintains the machine that treats cancer patients with proton therapy, and that's what I do. And it's a flexible schedule that allows me to go into and transition into my small business that I own, automotive repair shop here in East County in San Diego. And then that flexibility of being the business owner also allows me to do the reserve 1 week in a month, 2 weeks out of the year transition. So on top of being a husband and child, having children, which interesting side note, my son is actually about to attend Cal State San Bernardino in about a week and a half on the 25th. So
oh, congratulations. And didn't you say that that was your wife's alma mater?
yes, it's actually both of our alma mater. We
Oh, it
both got
is.
our mathematics degrees from California State University San Bernardino. Yes.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, that's so exciting. Those seasons of life. And how many children do you have?
Two, the one going off to college and a 12-year-old. The older
Okay.
one's a boy, the younger one's a girl.
Oh, fun. How fun. Wow. Okay. So now the difference between being an engineer of a proton therapy device and being owning your own business, there's a big difference between those two choices. I mean, so what do you feel like you take away from or bring into those different fields from your military experience? I mean, besides obviously the education and things like that.
Yeah. I think a lot of it has to do with the army putting you in uncomfortable situations that allows you to grow, and that
Mhm.
it allows you to learn more about yourself and some of the things that you are capable of with just a little bit of either motivation or just a leap of faith in most cases. And I think that's what I'm able to bring because of the army experiences. Is the army taught me to, you're not going to have the answers to everything, but you can search and find, and prepare yourself so that you can make a decision or take an opportunity whenever it presents itself. And that's what the army kind of did for me, so I'm very grateful for that.
Wow, that's amazing. And that's true. You would need, especially as an entrepreneur. I mean, the National Veterans Chamber of Commerce works with entrepreneurs, and that is the entrepreneur mindset is let's get the car going and then I'll figure out how to steer.
Yes.
That's amazing. Well, yay. Okay, so then I'm also just had a couple more questions, and that is, how would you like, from based on your experience, and you had kind of mentioned that kind of transition out of full-time 24/7 being military, if you were going to give advice from your own experience in your own life, if you were going to give advice to guys or gals that are transitioning, or somebody who has transitioned and maybe is struggling a bit, how might you encourage them?
I would say that if you're still in active duty and transitioning to be out of the military, it is a very kind of difficult process because, like you mentioned, and most of them will know, it's 24/7 army all the time. And to go straightly and stop to a civilian side, it's a little bit difficult, especially trying to get into the civil, I wouldn't say civilization, but just getting into the communities and doing it that way. I would say that if they can, part of the offboarding process to get out of the military, you speak to a reserve recruiter. And I think at that time, you should weigh some of those options, maybe in joining the reserves for, a year or 2 years, depending on, how much you enjoyed the military, and then give that a try. It's, 1 week in the month, 2 weeks out of the year. And, it has some benefits to that as well. So I would say just, explore all avenues.
I love that. That's great. Thank you so much. And anybody who is trying to juggle multiple important things, like how would you encourage them? I love how you see what you learned in the Army as an encouragement to you, but how would you encourage someone else based on the experiences that you've had?
I put a lot of thought, and all these possibilities came into my mind when, trying to become an entrepreneur. And a lot of it, like I mentioned earlier, is just the army teaches you to take risks, but you have to do your homework to make those risks, right? And I would say, weigh your options. The internet right now is a wonderful thing where you can find a lot of information, and it can benefit you in your way. You'll be surprised of how much time you have in the day to accomplish any given task. I mean, I'm a perfect example, right? Like just time management, you'll be surprised of how much you can accomplish in any given day if you really wanted to.
Thanks so much, Jose. I really appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the time when you're so busy, and got so much going on. Thank you for your time management. And what I'd like to do is, just before you leave, I'd like to just welcome in our the president and the CEO of the National Veterans Chamber. So I know he'd just like to thank you for your time and for your service, and sign off for us today.
Well, thank you, Tammy, for the awesome questions, and thank you, Jose, for sharing your experience with the audience, and so many points that I think you put in place that makes so much sense, and it kind of shows the possibilities that that people can have. I mean, you're a perfect example by having so many jobs and still running a family and all those things. It is a time management and a strategy that and that the military kind of shows you how to, like Tammy said, get a car moving, and then you learn to steer it as you move along. Just start slow, and you'll be fine. So yeah, starting a business, anything that the chamber can do to support your business, making your business be a known in your area as a veteran-owned business. Let us know. Happy to help you with that. But any other thing, I mean, the aspect of the transition that you express is the aspect of the transition that we express, even those of us who did not stay longer in the reserve and then just completed the contract. The transition part of it is difficult, as you can see. So I would like to talk to you about how can the chamber support troops in your command as they're getting ready to transition, and for us to serve as a bridge. And that's really why the chamber got started, is to be that bridge that when people walk through that bridge, they know they have someone on the other side, on the civilization side, like you said, on the civilian end of it, that kind of welcomes them with, just a not so much just throwing resources at them, because as you can tell, it doesn't really work that way.
Mhm.
But where can you go to start answering your questions at your pace, slow, fast, however you want to go, and having those people available to you to ask those questions and be able to get that support. So stay back after the show. We would love to chit chat with you, but for now, I thank you very much, and I'm gonna sign myself off, and I'm also gonna sign you off, and then have Tammy close the show, and then just wanted to thank you very much for participating, and we'd love to have you back and collaborate with you.
Thank you,
Thank
Joe.
you very much.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Jose. We appreciate you. Have a great
Great.
day.
Thank you, Tammy. Have a good day.
And so that's the end of our show. Thank you so much for listening in, for being part, for showing your support to the National Veterans Chamber of Commerce and the Veterans Radio Show. As always, like, subscribe, share this with someone that you think could be encouraged by the words that Jose shared of his transition and the risk taking that's involved, and that those who have been so privileged to serve in our military have been primed to take those kind of risks. And so, as always, we're here to support you, and looking forward to seeing you again next time on the Veterans Radio Show. Take care.